All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something huge, Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're going to break down why it's so incredibly hard to make good habits stick and, how we can actually finally get it right.
I mean, think about it. Have you ever tried to start eating healthier or hit the gym more, maybe learn a new skill, only to find yourself like a few weeks later right back where you started? Yeah, that question probably hits pretty close to home. So let's figure out what's really going on here.
So here's the big idea from the book. The problem isn't you, it's your system. We tend to think of habits as this constant, uphill battle that's all about willpower. But what if it's not? What if you could build a system where good habits just happen, almost automatically?
Okay, so let's get into the first big concept, the power of tiny gains. This is really the foundation of the whole book, this surprising, almost magical power of making these tiny 1% improvements day after day.
The San Antonio Spurs actually have this quote hanging in their locker room, and it just nails the whole philosophy of the book. It's not about that one final heroic effort that creates a breakthrough. No, it's about all the small, consistent things you did leading up to it.
And that's exactly where the title of the book comes from. Think about it, atomic. It's this tiny, fundamental building block. On its own, it seems totally insignificant, right? But when you combine it with others, that's when you get these absolutely remarkable results.
Okay, but how? How do these tiny little changes actually lead to massive breakthroughs? Well, the book has this amazing metaphor to explain it. So just picture this. You've got an ice cube sitting on a table in a really cold room.
Now the room starts to warm up, super slowly, degree by degree. But for a while, absolutely nothing happens. The ice cube is just sitting there. This is what the book calls the plateau of latent potential. And this right here is where almost all of us give up on our habits. You go to the gym for a week, you don't see any changes, and you just think, this isn't working.
But then, you hit 32 degrees. Just one more degree, a change that looks exactly like all the ones before it, and suddenly you cross this critical threshold. The ice starts to melt. And here's the kicker, your habits work in exactly the same way.
See, all that effort you were putting in, it wasn't wasted. Not at all. It was being stored up. You were building potential. The thing is, progress is almost never linear. It's often hidden, invisible, until you finally hit that breakthrough moment.
So, if all this progress comes from stored up potential, how do we build it in the first place? Well, that brings us to the next big idea, and honestly, this is a huge mental shift for most people. You need to forget about goals and focus on building systems instead.
So, what's the difference? Well, a goal is the result you want. A system is the process that gets you there. So like your goal might be to win a championship. Your system is how you practice, how you manage your players, and scout your opponents every single day. Or maybe your goal is to publish a book. The system is your daily writing schedule.
And just think about it for a second. Winners and losers in pretty much any field, they often have the exact same goals, right? Every single team in the league wants to win the championship. So the goal itself can't be the thing that separates them. The real difference is the system they follow, day in and day out. Because the system, that's what actually changes who you are. You don't just hit a target. You become the kind of person who can achieve those things over and over.
Okay, so if systems are the key, then how do we actually build them? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The book breaks down the science behind every single habit you have, the good ones and the bad ones, into this simple 4-step loop that's basically running your life on autopilot.
Let's walk through a super common one. Your phone buzzes on the table. That's the cue, the trigger. Instantly, you feel that little urge to know who messaged you. That's the craving. So what do? You pick up the phone and check. That's the response. And finally, you satisfy that little itch of curiosity, and that's the reward. This little loop, it's running constantly for almost everything we do.
And this simple loop gives us a brilliant framework. You've got the problem phase, the cue and the craving, and then you've got the solution phase, the response and reward. So if you want to build a good habit, you just make the cue obvious and the craving attractive. And if you want to break a bad one, you do the exact opposite. Make the cue invisible and the craving unattractive. Simple, right?
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually start now? Like today? How do we get out of our heads and move from just planning to actually doing? I love this story from the book. There was this photography professor who split his class into two groups.
One group, the quantity group, was told they'd be graded on the sheer number of photos they submitted. The other group, the quality group, only had to submit one single photo, but it had to be nearly perfect. So, guess what happened at the end of the semester? All the best photos, every single one, came from the quantity group. Why? Because while the quality group was sitting around theorizing about what makes a perfect photo, the quantity group was out there actually taking pictures, making mistakes, and learning. It's such a powerful lesson. Just being in motion isn't the same as taking action. You've got to practice.
And that brings us to probably the most practical, actionable tool in the entire book, the 2-minute rule. The idea is so simple. You shrink your new habit down until it takes 2 minutes or less to do. Make it so easy you just can't say no. You want to read more? Your new habit is read 1 page. Want to get fit? Just put on your workout clothes. See, the goal here isn't to get amazing results in 2 minutes. The goal is to master the art of just showing up, because a habit has to be established before it can ever be improved.
So, when you boil it all down, the real power of Atomic Habits isn't about making one single life-altering change. Not at all. It's about the incredible power of compound interest, of getting just 1% better every single day. That potential, it's there in all of us, just sitting there, waiting to be unlocked. So the only question left is, what 1% change are you going to make today?